Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Metaphysical Apothecary. This is our second episode with the Scorpio sisters. This is Shannon, and my cohort, Megan, is with us today
Hi,
as
everyone.
well. We are going to be talking about the subtle bodies.
Yes, we are very excited to discuss the subtle bodies because they are the key to our well-being. And who couldn't use a little bit of well-being and inner peace right now?
Some serenity would be very nice,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
But you were discussing the topic with your wife, Megan, and you realized that it's not as common as the two of us were assuming it
Right. It's not
was.
as well known or widespread a concept as you and I thought, because you and I are discussing these sorts of things all the time. And my wife, Sam, and I are also discussing these kinds of things all the time. She lives with me. She knows the kind of research that I do. I mentioned to her, yeah, disease actually starts in the subtle body. And she looked at me and she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, it's about your vibration and how your body vibrates. And she looked at me for a long time like this was new information. And I realized that this isn't something that is common knowledge. So we're going to dive in today about how you can steward your personal health and your personal well-being by starting in the subtle body or the psychic body.
And what the subtle or psychic body is, and how to be able to start identifying when it's talking to
Exactly.
you.
So that you can address issues in the subtle body or psychic body. We are going to use those interchangeably before they manifest in your physical body as an infection or tension or a digestive issue or something along those lines. Because when our mental health and clarity is taken care of, our bodies tend to be healthier. And it's the same thing with your psychic body.
Yep. So
Let's start with what the subtle body is, since clearly it's not as widespread a topic as we thought. So the subtle
yes,
body is essentially 7 layers of bioelectric energy that surround us. We all have a bioelectric field around us. Some people call it the aura, some people call it other things. We're calling it the subtle body for the purposes of this podcast. And there's 7 layers to it. Each layer is connected to a chakra, which are energy systems in the body that are located along the spine. And each chakra is associated with a glandular system in the body. So the etheric body is the first layer, and it's attached to the root chakra, and it's associated with the color red and the root chakra. The next one is the emotional body. It's associated with the sacral chakra, the color orange. The next one is the mental body, which is associated with yellow and the solar plexus chakra. The astral body is associated with the heart chakra and the color green. The causal body or etheric template is associated with the throat chakra and the color blue. The soul body is associated with the pineal gland and the color indigo. And the integrated spiritual body, essentially wrapping it in violet light, and that is associated with our crown chakra. The subtle body layers are essentially connected to and feed the endocrine system, which informs all of the other systems in the body. So when you have an imbalance or disharmony in your subtle body, it's going to eventually manifest in your physical body. The subtle body is comprised of 7 intangible energy fields, which link to different chakras, which are energy pools in the body that lead up the spine. Many of us are very, very familiar with chakras and what they represent. And chakras are connected to physical systems in the body, specifically the glands that make up our endocrine system. So the subtle body essentially feeds energy into our endocrine system, which is responsible for all of the functionality in our physical body. If you take any system in the body and pull it back to which system is responsible for our organs' well-beings, it's something in the endocrine system. It's the pineal gland, it's the thyroid, it's the adrenal glands, it's something along those lines. So these are extremely important areas of the body. And when our subtle body fields are in disharmony or there is disruption in those fields, that's when we become more susceptible to things like infection or injury. We're more likely to feel the effects, more likely to spiral out and become less manageable. So taking care of your subtle body can be a really, really good way to cut all of these things off at the pass so you don't have to deal with them in your physical body.
So, for example, one of the glands that are associated with a chakra, which is associated with a layer of one of the subtle bodies, is the pineal gland. And the pineal gland has been known in very ancient cultures and esoteric knowledge to be the third eye. So biologically speaking, the gland itself is connected to your forehead, where the third eye is traditionally thought to be, with rods and cones. It actually has the rods and cones that our eyes have that are connected to our brain, and the brain section that stores and flips our sight so that way we can see and perceive the world as we do.
And it also
it just doesn't have an eyeball.
Right. So it's the pineal gland is essentially, as you said, it's kind of an eyeball in the middle of our brain, and it also produces melatonin and a few other hormones that govern our circadian rhythms.
Mm-hmm. So it is using those rods and cones to perceive things that obviously are not seeable, because otherwise it would have an eyeball. But it's also using those rods and cones to determine the quality and amount and time of daylight in order to regulate those circadian rhythms.
And by the same token, the pineal gland is connected to the third eye. The third eye chakra is connected to the soul body layer of the subtle body, which is, if you think about it from the outside in, the root chakra is connected to the outermost layer of the subtle body, and the crown chakra is connected to the innermost layer. So the third eye and the pineal gland would be connected to the second layer out from the body, from the physical body.
So the potential complications that could arise from when that subtle body is in need of attention would include an inability to fall asleep efficiently.
Also feelings of being disconnected, feeling isolated. That's a very big one.
There's different ways in which the subtle body will try to start communicating with you that there's a disharmonious or uneasiness within its body through the pineal gland. And if you learn how to listen to your physical body and the entry points or the connection points to your subtle body from your physical body, you can start to see how all your bodies are a system within itself that's trying to communicate you into a state of wellness.
So just like pain or symptoms of illness in your body tell you that it needs help to heal or fight an infection, things like exhaustion, anxiety, disrupted sleep, and feelings of isolation can be early warning signs that your subtle body needs some care. So how does the subtle body become infected with dis-ease or disharmony or turmoil? And the answer is that it's all about personal vibration and personal frequency.
So one way to understand it is by thinking about it as a ripple in a pool of water. You are in the water and you are causing ripples just by being there, just by breathing and existing within the pool. And you are thus creating a frequency by breathing in the pool of existence. So the next part is understanding that other beings, humans, animals, plant life, insects, whether I like it or not, paintings, dolls, inanimate objects of all sorts also have a ripple frequency within the pool of existence.
Exactly. So everything produces frequency and vibration, and that is generated by the atoms that make up the universe. All of the atoms that make up all of the matter in our universe are made of electrons, protons, and neutrons, and they are always moving. They're always spinning. The electrons are spinning around the protons and neutrons, and they create vibration. And depending on what kind of matter they're making up, that vibration is a little bit different. And that's why we perceive things as being different colors or different shapes or different objects, people as being different from us, because we're all vibrating. We all have a personal frequency.
It's why we can't walk through walls.
Right, because the wall is vibrating at a different frequency than we are. It's why I'm sitting on my sofa right now instead of falling through it, because the sofa is vibrating at a different frequency than I am. And that's also how the electric field, which is the subtle body, that's how that's generated around our bodies. So our vibrations and frequencies are interacting with all of the other vibrations around us all the time, including that of other humans. It's, as Shannon pointed out earlier, we're all producing ripples in the pool of existence. And sometimes those ripples feel good. They feed our subtle body. They feed our well-being. And sometimes those ripples detract from our well-being or detract from our subtle body. And the reverse is also true. Our vibration and frequency can also either be beneficial or disharmonious to others.
That's in biology, and science is called the constructive interference patterns or wave patterns, and destructive or deconstructive interference wavelength patterns.
I believe it's Dr. Bruce Lipton has done a lot of research on this, if anyone would like to dive deeper into the theory. So when our subtle body is vibrating at a constructive or beneficial frequency, it's going to be good for everything else in our system. Our mental clarity will be good. We'll be sleeping great. Our physical body will be energized. We'll just be feeling good. When there is something off, when a vibration that is destructive or disharmonious has entered the subtle body, we're going to start to feel exhausted, isolated. We might start losing our temper more often.
Become antisocial.
We'll isolate ourselves. And those are the signs that you can look for as early warning signs. Okay, there's something off in my psychic body. I need to get my frequency straightened out. Let's examine my environment and see what that might be. Dis-ease, or a feeling of uneasiness, is actually where we get the term disease, meaning infection. Infections aren't just physical. They can also be mental, emotional, or spiritual. And in this case, spiritual meaning dis-ease or disharmony in the subtle body. A harmonious or high vibration in the subtle body and in our physical body helps us maintain a state of well-being, while a discordant or lower vibration causes stress and uneasiness, which makes us more susceptible to physical malady. If you have a physical malady that acts up every now and then, if you struggle with chronic pain, you might notice that there's something wrong in your subtle body because you're having a flare-up, or you want to isolate yourself, or if you have an eating disorder or a mental illness, you're having a difficult time managing that.
You're beating yourself up in some way, shape, or form. It's also a good indicator that there's something off in one of your subtle bodies, because you are essentially becoming aggressive with the easiest target.
Exactly.
The easiest target.
The inner critic comes out and starts beating you over the head. And the interesting thing about this is those things lower your vibration. the criticism, the isolation, all of those things lower your vibration. So it can create a vicious cycle of disharmony between your physical and subtle bodies, which makes you continuously attract a lower vibration to yourself. The opposite is also true, however. So if you can raise your vibration, you're going to continue to attract higher vibrations, which means that your subtle body and your physical body are both going to benefit.
Okay, guys, that wraps up Subtle Bodies Part 1. Megan and I will be discussing other ways to tailor your environment to better steward your own frequencies and take care of your subtle body and your physical body in the process.
We hope that this is helpful for you. If you have any techniques or methods that you use to care for your energetic well-being, please let us know in the comments. Please follow us on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook, and let us know there as well. Bye.
Bye.